Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the beautiful musical rendition by the orchestra group of Bangladesh Shilpakala Academy. This performance was conducted by Chandan Dotto. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to you all. Welcome to the inaugural session of the 2-day long international seminar on home and displacement. All the past biennales held here had a seminar as an integral part of the artistic and intellectual conversation they facilitated. The seminar focused on a contemporary issue or concern that cut across disciplines and genres. The 19th Asian Art Biennale Bangladesh 2022 is no exception. I am sure we will have a very fruitful deliberations on home and displacement from different perspectives both today and tomorrow. My name is Tasfi Ahmed. I am a student at the University of Liberal Arts Bangladesh and I will be your host for this session. May I request you all to take your seats? I also request you to put your phones on silent mode. Thank you. For the inaugural session of this international seminar, we are honored to have Mr. Liaquat Ali Lucky, Director General, Bangladesh Shilpakala Academy and Chief Coordinator of the 19th Asian Art Biennale Bangladesh 2022, and Professor Soyod Monzurul Islam, writer, art critic, and convener of the seminar committee of the 19th Asian Art Biennale Bangladesh 2022. May I now request Mr. Liaquat Ali Lucky, Director General of Bangladesh Shilpakala Academy and Chief Coordinator of the 19th Asian Art Biennale Bangladesh 2022, to give the welcome address and inaugurate the seminar.
Shubho good morning. Honorable Chair of the seminar, famous writer and art critic of our country, Professor Syed Manzurul Islam, the writer of the keynote paper, the chair of different sessions, discussions, the artist from home and abroad, journalist, ladies and gentlemen, greetings from Bangladesh Shilpakala Academy. During this month-long 19th Asian Art Biennale, we will also celebrate one of our national landmarks, the 51st Victory Day. We will remember how a country was born out of legacy of blood. We will recall how 3 million people sacrificed their lives for a homeland. We will renew our pledge to protect humanity that was intruded upon by the savage invasion of the colonizer that forced 1 million people to seek refuge outside the border. We are a proud nation that takes pride in its hospitality in hosting the 19th Asian Art Biennale. We want to live up to the motto of Bangladesh Shilpakala Academy, see Bangladesh through its arts. With fresh memory of the Golden Jubilee, we invite our guests and spectators to learn about country that has made great strides in the last few decades. We have come a long way from the famine-stricken Bangladesh that our old master painter painted. We invite our viewers to experience the different Bangladesh that is available in the works of our artists and look deep into the soul of the country forged by our creative artists. We have selected 149 Bangladeshi artists who will be featured in their 156 artworks. Their works will be placed side by side with the artists from 113 countries. A total 649 artworks will be put on display for the next month. The academic seminar is a pivotal component of the Art Biennale, as it allows artists to comment on their works and themes in general and exchange views with their peers. The chosen theme, home and displacement. The trauma of being displaced during the Liberation War in 1971 has always been in our collective memory. In our celebration of the Golden Jubilee, we revisited the trauma. Our gratefulness to our host country for the shelter and support we received when we needed the most has defined our attitude towards humanity. Our Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, who inaugurated the Art Biennale, made it clear when we opened our border for the incoming Rohingya population who were fleeing persecution at home. Even with our limited resources, we have been hosting 1.1 million people with the hope the world would take note of our gesture and react and respond with necessary interventions. We have included a roundtable discussion as part of the seminar, and I hope you will all enjoy. The, the plights of our Rohingya people act as an imaginative springboard to understanding the many shades of home and displacement. For many of us, home is a private or domestic space where one is safe and protected. The reality in many in the world do not have the security or protection in their private space. The conflict is both physical and metaphysical. The issue is both real and imaginary. I'm sure the discussion will enrich your critical and creative insights and allow you to view the exhibition for a fresh perspective. As the Nobel laureate poet Rabindranath Tagore has said, quote, "What is art? It is the response of man's creative soul to the call of the real," unquote. I wish you all enjoy the creative responses that we have curated here. From all of us at the Bangladesh Shilpakala Academy, I welcome you all to the exhibition and the discussion. Thank you very much. I declare the seminar open. Joy Bangla, Joy Bangabandhu, may Bangladesh live forever. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lucky. Now it is time to start our first session. The session chair is Professor Soyod Monzurul Islam, writer, art critic, and convener of the Seminar Committee of the 19th Asian Art Biennale Bangladesh 2022. I would like to welcome on stage Professor Soyod Monzurul Islam, along with our keynote speaker, Mr. Mustafa Zaman, Ms. Luva Nahe Chaudhuri, and Constantine Migliorini from Italy.
Any chair would like to sit.
In the corner, please.
You don't want to disappear as much as
I know, I
possible.
know. Sit wherever you want. Too much people. I brought this, I have to speak now.
It is now time for the keynote address. We are pleased to have with us our keynote speaker, Mr. Mustafa Zaman, artist and art critic. He will be joined by Ms. Luva Nahi Chaudhuri, Director General of Bengal Foundation, as the main discussant. Mr. Zaman has been involved with our country's art for many years now. He is a pioneer art curator, an outstanding art critic, and editor of Deep Art, an art magazine. I would now like to invite Mr. Mustafa Zaman to share his thoughts on the seminar topic.
I would first like to thank Munzurul Islam Sir to give me this opportunity to present this paper here. And I'd also like to uh, issue a cautionary signal because of the fact that when you're writing a paper on home and displacement, addressing migration on a global scale that is happening all around the world, you cannot be exhaustive. You had to cherry pick. So I mean, lot of works, even artists who are working on this issue have been working on this issue since the first year of the millennium. They've been excluded. So I'm touching on few of the issues, and it is in relation to those issues that I'm talking about. I'm presenting a particular artist in this particular paper. So I'll just run you through the paper, and I'll skip some of the stanzas that I thought that I could do without while I'm reading this in order to shorten the span of time. So thank you very much, Shilpakala Academy, for giving me this opportunity in this 19th Asian Biennale. So I'll call my paper Places of Belonging, Stories of Displacement. From home towards homelessness. The word home carries both actual and metaphorical meaning. A term of endearment, home is linked to the lived experience in reference to a range of spatial reality, a place of birth, of a village, or even the country of one's origin, thereby bringing to it an ethological dimension. Migration, be that forced or otherwise, is a reality today and has been so since time immemorial. Human history is replete with stories of displacement. If war, famine, and even political pogrom enforces migration, sought refuge in Cox's Bazar in Bangladesh in recent time, there have been many other instances of such lapses in South Asia. They all led to human disasters of similar and even greater scale. Since this paper seeks to address displacement of territorialization in relation to art and artists, a particular scene of migration that made its appearance in the large masterpiece of Bangladesh modern painter Zainul Abedin seems permeable to the discussions and discourses relevant to the issue at hand. The work titled Novanno, New Rice in literal translation, refers to the celebration of new harvest. The title, as well as the buoyant spirit that pervades the greater portion of the 65-foot long and 6-foot wide paper scroll, which Zainul executed in 1970, seems at odds with a cluster of skeletal figures drawn at the beginning of the painting, which is recognized as the first panel. In his signature brashness, using wax, stick, brush, and ink, the pioneer modernist Zainul, who chose not to abandon the type of reductive realism he developed in his early career, reintroduces the plights of the rural masses to his masterpiece that was meant to for celebration while amplifying his version of Bengalihood built around lived experience. The migrating destitute in Novanno, in the shape of the uprooted families from an unknown rural region, have obvious link to the counter-colonial optics Zainul devised in response to the Bengal famine in 1943. The visceral presence of sights of emaciation and death, to borrow Sanjukta Sundarsan's words, the young artist achieved by way of his radical reductive realist stratagem using brush and ink captured the national imagination in the then colonial India. The series on Bengal famine, depicting the starving masses, skeletal victim forced to embrace death on the streets of Kolkata, now Kolkata, first attracted the attention of the official organ of Communist Party of India, Janajuddha, People's War, and later Statesman and Elite Daily. They popularized the famine sketches. The artist, then only 26, stirred the national conscience by paying attention to the plights of the people. Out of sheer nationalist zeal, the eminent Indian leader, Sarojini Naidu, represented Zainul's work as a homage to love and pity to the vast anonymous legion of hunger-stricken and heroic people of Bengal. I'm skipping a bit. Zainul's famine sketches and the unfolding scene of migrating destitute in the Nabanna scroll together complete the spectrum of dereliction associated with the colonial rule and its prolongation by the military junta in the Pakistan era, prompting sociological imagination. Zainul returns to the scene of disaster in its early phase when food became scarce in the village due to the destruction of rural economy, following which millions began their fatal journey towards Kolkata, the then nerve center of colonial India. So I'm going to run you through few pictures of related to the famine of 1943. Artists crossing borders following partition and partage. Artists as migrants are always forced to come to terms with the realities of the newfound locale, while the memories of the ancestral home linger on. In August 1947, when after 200 years in India, the British finally decided to leave, the subcontinent was partitioned into two independent nation states, Hindu majority India and Muslim majority Pakistan. Immediately, there began one of the greatest migrations in human history, as millions of Muslims trekked to West and East Pakistan and the later now known as Bangladesh. While millions of Hindus and Sikhs headed to the opposite direction. By 1948, as the Great Migration draws to a close, more than 15 million people had been uprooted, and between 1 and 2 million were dead. The comparison with the death camps is not so far-fetched as it may seem, wrote William Dalrymple in 1917. Among the migrating millions, there were Muslim artists who crossed the newly demarcated border between West Bengal, India, and East Pakistan, East Bengal, Pakistan, to live behind Kolkata and make Dhaka their new home. Two artists of West Bengal who had already earned considerable fame in Kolkata, Kamrul Hassan and Shafiuddin Ahmed, also had to look for new home across the border. Often clustered under the umbrella term indigenous modern, coined by writer and critic Burhanuddin Khan Jahangir, Kamrul, a painter, and Shafiuddin, a painter and a printmaker, brought to Dhaka their enthusiasm for regional aesthetic modernity developed in Kolkata and their respective formal experimentations with an emphasis on linearity. Both of them were educated in Government College of Art and Craft in Kolkata, one of the oldest art educational institutions in undivided Bengal. Another artist, Anwarul Haq, also migrated to Dhaka with the rest. Dhaka, one of the oldest city centers of the region, had long been sitting outside the colonial geostrategic and geo-economic interest. It also gradually lost its importance as a trading center over the centuries, following the defeat and murder of the last sovereign Nawab of Bengal, Sirajuddaulah, who lost a decisive battle at Palashi in June 1757 to the British colonial forces. As the British East India Company extended its control over India, it looked westward and southward after unseating the last Mughal emperor in 1857. The British had little political interest in the Muslim majority Eastern Bengal, though its agrarian economy was a major source of raw materials. Following India's partition, Dhaka became the provincial capital of East Pakistan and attracted artists and writers who were forced to leave behind India, a direct result of riots and bloodsheds between religious communities. With them, they brought a slice of the modern cultural life of Western educated class had been able to forge in Kolkata on the basis of individual freedom and a cultural identity to the city that would soon transform into a cosmopolitan center. According to Shobhan Shom, Dhaka had many educated personalities. The Dhaka University used to attract myriad scholars, but there was this agonizing absence of artistic practice. In fact, there has been no awareness regarding art. Shobhan Shom also speaks of the difficulties artists had to face in Dhaka, especially those who already had a brush with fame in Kolkata. A fresh battle had to be fought to allay misgivings about art due to religious conservatism, while challenges associated with the lack of infrastructure needed to be solved. Zainul Abidin, born in 1917 in Kishoreganj of Mymensingh, a rice-producing district of East Bengal, decided to leave his teaching job in Kolkata's Government College of Art and Craft in 1947. Zainul and his compatriots, including Kamrul Hassan, Anwarul Haq, and Shafiuddin Ahmed, who joined hands to build the art institution in Dhaka, modeled it after Kolkata's Government College of Art and Craft. The art movement in Dhaka began to show its own distinct features. The foundation of this new institution was apparently based on the pedagogy developed under the colonial knowledge system. One can safely conclude that in the collective consciousness of the urban educated class, the idea of modern art, as well as ideology of cultural nationalism, remain attached to both discourses and counter discourses developed by the Kolkata moderns to various degrees. What crossed the border were not only the volatile bodies trying to escape from religious persecution and mob rule amid the rising majoritarianism, but also subjectivities tied to urban pluralistic outlook. In the post-partition environment, three of the most famous faculties at the art institution, Zainul, Kamrul, and Shafiuddin, as hyphenates, because they were artists and teachers, set the stage for future artistic practices in Bangladesh. Traditional artists deterritorialized in pursuit of work. From 1772 to 1911, Kolkata was the capital of British India. As the rural economy declined after colonization, the market for traditional pottas, the local name for popular scroll paintings, shrank. The city of Kolkata began to attract these traditional painters. Consequently, a new genre came into being, which acquired the name Kalighat Pota, as it originated in the vicinity of the iconic Kalighat Kali temple. Painted mostly on mill-made paper with quick and exact brushwork using watercolor, often paper, handmade color, Kalighat paintings were known for their eloquent expression and thrived in the 19th century as many traditional potuas or chitrakars who created potas or paintings began to establish as inferior class of began to be referred to as inferior class of pictures. I mean, I'm referring to T.N. Mukherjee, who wrote a piece on Kalighat Pota in 1886, an authority on Indian art and craft. Kalighat Potters rose to prominence, adhering to a simplified but visually captivating style. In a scholarly examination of the style of Kalighat painting and its origin, Ashok K. Bhattacharya, in the Journal of the Indian Society of the Oriental Art, wrote, in reference to studies by Binoy Ghosh and demographic information suggested that these putuas originally belonged to the districts of southwest Bengal. A survey of their descendants who are still living in the lanes and bylanes near Kolkata, near the Kali temple at Kalighat, also confirms the suggestion that their ancestors migrated to the city chiefly from the districts of 20. Uh, in Bangla, you call 24 Pargana, so it's 24 Parganas, Howrah and Midnapur or Medinipur, wrote Bhattacharya. If the Kalighat painters migrated to Kolkata to serve a socio-religious need of the urban masses, Dhaka's rickshaw painting, a type of popular art that is often referred to as urban folk genre, primarily quenched the thirst for secular images of the urban middle class and underclass. A survey conducted in 1994 by Osman and Islam found 224 shops selling rickshaw paintings by 98 artists and 34 body painters in 52 locations in Dhaka city, according to Kuntala Lahiri Dutt and David J. Williams. About half the rickshaw painters were migrants from different areas of Bangladesh, and about one third of them were illiterate. Rickshaw art had a direct association with cinema banner painting. In fact, before India's partition, movie banner paintings had no precedent in Bangladesh, nor had rickshaw painting been in vogue. Rickshaw art was initially inspired by cinema banners, which were produced for movie theaters. Displaced Muslim artists who had been forced to cross the border to make the then Pakistan their home were responsible for cinema banner paintings in Bangladesh. Riots in Bihar and North India forced them to embrace life in exile. This led to a burgeoning banner painting industry in Bangladesh. Banner painting saw its beginning in Mumbai, Chennai, and Kolkata, in various other parts of India for use in movie theaters. Abdul Wahab and Muhammad Salim were the first generation artists who pioneered in this form of art in Bangladesh. Long before the advent of the modern age, to seek Mughal patronage, artists in Indian subcontinent traveled from far and wide to be part of the royal workshop to work on illuminated folios. They were a migratory lot and continued to travel from one urban center to other in different point of history, seeking favor of the ruling elite, so that they remain in practice. In his famous chronicle, Mughal historian Abul Fazl mentions artists who came from far and near to work in the royal workshop in Delhi. Their origin is obvious in the second part of their names. Ibrahim Lahori, from Lahore, which is now the cultural capital of Pakistan. Haidar Kashmir, which is now divided, and the locus of intermittent India-Pakistan conflict are few such names. International migration in contemporary art. As the As I said earlier, you cannot be exhaustive. So much has been excluded from this paper. As the international diffusion of European cultural trends continues in the late modern globalized world, countries on the periphery of modernity too have shown the strength of exporting innovative ideas to the center. Additionally, artists in both North and South began to interrogate the very idea of territorial borders, while others felt compelled to devise ways to bring to light distress and displacement of people trying to flee conflict zones around the world. While wars rage in vulnerable parts of the world, especially in the Middle East, where global powers have colluded to bring down uh, subsequent governments in the past 20 or so years, in the pretext of civilizing mission, Noam Chomsky once dubbed as military humanism, artists too are being forced to look at the eye of the storm. When the body of a 3-year-old Syrian boy named Aylan Kurdi washed up on the shore of Turkish resort town of Bodrum in September 2015. It sent shock waves through the world. The scene of the boy lying face down on the beach spurred artists across the world to pick up the paintbrush and resort to other contemporary forms of expression. The toddler Aylan Kurdi was among the 12 refugees who drowned attempting to reach the Greek island of Kos. Chinese dissident A Weiwei, a globetrotting star of the globalized art world, emulated the posture of the boy on the beach of Lesbos in Greece, which was photographed by India Today magazine's photojournalist Rohit Chawla. This was a tribute to the tragic image of Aylan Kurdi. However, some critics did not hesitate to interpret it uh, as too efficacious a way for we to articulate victimhood, as the artist himself had once been mistreated by the Chinese authority. After the British Daily Guardian published the picture, it was accused of confronting readers with stark images of an innocent victim of the intensifying refugee crisis. While the Spectator declared AWW's island could the image as crude, thoughtless, and egotistical. The artist, who seems loyal to his theme, also visited the Rohingya refugee camp in Cox's Bazar, Bangladesh, and filmed a feature length documentary titled Rohingya between 1916 and 2020, which is a continuation of his previous films, Human Flow, done in 2017, and The Rest, done in 2019, on the plight of the refugees. The film focuses on Rohingya refugees who were forced out of Myanmar in August 2017. Island Could the image, which rapidly circulated through news and social media, had a significant effect on shifting public perception to the Syrian refugee crisis. The image has also been replicated and even enlarged by artists across the world. August Sen and Justice Baker, two German artists, painted a huge mural of the drowned child by a riverbank in Frankfurt to create awareness about the refugee issues. In 1916, though few days later, suspected right-wingers destroyed the graffiti, spraying racist slogans on it. There are those who, unlike Aylan Kurdi and his family members, successfully crossed the ocean and made Europe their home. Omar Imam, a Syrian artist currently based in Amsterdam, left Damascus in 2012 and now has refugee status in Netherlands. His works, photographs, and mixed media installation continue to voice his concern about the refugee crisis. In response to the ongoing conflicts and the resultant humanitarian crisis of enforced migration, a number of international initiatives have also sprung up. Migrate Art, a platform of the a platform that facilitates contemporary artists to raise money for displaced and homeless communities across the globe is one of them. Responding to the Syrian crisis, the collective initiated a charity auction, an exhibition under the header Scorched Earth. In September 2020, British stalwarts like Anthony Gormley, Richard Deacon, and Anish Kapoor supported their cause. Scorched Earth initiator collected burnt earth from Syria and turned it into paint, which artists used to make new works and provide it to artists to make new works. In the contemporary context, artists given to ambulatory explorations of regions within and outside their country of birth led many to explore interdisciplinary projects around interstitial spaces, national border being one of them. I'll just go through the images here. Anthony Gromley and Richard Dickens' work for that projects. In the past 30 or so years, members of artist-run organizations as well as individual artists mobilized themselves to examine global movement of people through migration, immigration and displacement. Hard on the heels of their African and South African counterparts, South Asian artists also began to pay attention to political borders and their meaning in the contemporary context. These are artists who work through their themes while fluidly crossing disciplines. As a consequence, works on themes of crossing borders are being explored from many different perspectives using performance, video, and photography. International art star Francis Alias once tried to build a floating bridge that would symbolically link Cuba and the United States. In 2006, Francis Alias uh, assembled local fleets in both Havana and Key West, Florida, asking fishermen to position their boats side to side to create a line that would reach across the water. Alias, a native of Belgium who lives in Mexico now, later took this idea to Spain and Morocco. Where he eventually assembled two groups of children on either side of the 13-kilometer Strait of Gibraltar, the narrowest point between Europe and Africa. Since 2004, the artist shifted his attention to inherent socio-political conflict in border regions. Don't cross the bridge before you get to the river is a prime example of Alia's tenet that that the poetic and the political are intimately connected. In India, I'll just go through some of the. I think I missed. I just. I have Omar Imam now. I talked about him earlier. So this is the kind of installation he does, and he photographs them and present them in the exhibition too. These are site specific. In India, against the high tide of nationalist passion following the rise of the ultra-right, artists such as Shilpa Gupta and Reena Kalath continue to critique the notions of nations and the role of borders in the day-to-day experience of the people in the region who once enjoyed a borderless existence. While Gupta's untitled project for the Dhaka Summit in 2014 questioned the legal-illegal binary by creating a landscape with fentanyl-soaked paper, an illegal drug. This is the one. The illegal drug that easily crosses border between Bangladesh, former East Bengal and East Pakistan, and West Bengal, India. Reena Kalath homes in on the fluidity of all borders by imagining a world map where trails of labor migration are made visible, she brought a global perspective to the subject of migration. The work, titled Untitled Map Drawing, was done in 2011 and used electric wires and sound as its elements. Reena began her interrogation of nationalist notions by reimagining fantastical mutation of animals, where the national animals, birds, and flowers and of different countries symbolically get combined, so succinctly encapsulated in her multi-layered installation, Hyphenated Life. She was part of a seminal exhibition titled When Home Won't Let You Stay, Migration Through Contemporary Art, which ran its course between October 23, 2019 and January 23, 2020 at ICA Boston, where Mona Hatum's Exodus was also exhibited. The later artist is a well-known installation artist. Born in Beirut to Palestinian family, she now lives in London. As for the exhibition that sought to make visible the theme of journey, be that forced or otherwise, it brought together voices of 20 contemporary artists. The most brutal work in the exhibition was the creation of Richard Moses Incoming. So this is Incoming, a 3-channel video. Mose teamed up with electronic composer Ben Frost and cinematographer Trevor Tweetin to produce the work. In it, the Irish artist followed migrants with a thermal military camera as they flee Syria, Iraq, and elsewhere, turning them into a teeming mass of ghosts. ongoing edition of ongoing edition of the Asian Art Biennale, there are a number of entries through which to come to terms with the cycle of death and destruction in the Middle East that continue to haunt their everyday existence in the heart of their motherlands. Palestinian artist Muhammad Hawajri, I think I'm pronouncing it right, freights a few home truths freights a few home truths about the disaster zone called Gaza. His digitally developed this is his final display, partially shown here. Muhammad Abu Sal, another Palestinian artist, depicts the humanitarian impact of 15 years of blockade through a series of stage photographs of a small, fragile, mannequin-like doll confronting obstructions in the form of walls, barbed wire, transtrail, etc. In the globalized world, fluidity of borders are imperative as more and more people are willing to travel from one region to another to make a living. But for the ones who are forced to leave home, face too many hurdles in seeking asylum in foreign lands. At the end of 2021, and approximately 4.6 million people around the world were waiting for a decision on their asylum claims, according to United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. In Bangladesh, photographers took the lead in highlighting the Rohingya refugee crisis. Similarly, they ventured into the coastal area way before any contemporary artists began to notice the slow migration of people from affected regions to major cities. However, the strength of symbolic gesture always outweighs that of the documentary image. Artists such as Kamruzzaman Shadhin and Farzana Ahmed Urmi developed their collaborative projects on Rohingya refugees, each following their individual path. Kamruzzaman's Elephant in Room began in 2017 and later developed into an installation, Travel to Dubai. The artist had in mind twin concerns: 700,000 of Rohingya people displaced from their home in Myanmar due to religious pogrom, and acres of forest land that transformed into red, barren earth within a few months as these displaced people began to settle in the temporary camps in Cox's Bazar. Shadhin's elephants had clothes in clothes of the refugees for their skins. The artist followed the principle of katha stitching, an age-old rural tradition of making quilts out of bits and pieces of old saris, when creating the sculptural pieces. Farzana initially engaged, so this is Farzana's work, initial engagement with the inhabitants of the camps, 18, where she worked with the community. This was a community art project. And she was invited by the International Organization for Migration, IOM, to do so. Later, and her project later led to her personal project. So this is the personal project we are looking at. If IOM's activities were focused on building a virtual community space in the preservation of the cultural memories, there were other international platforms that were intent on making life of the children easier by engaging them in creative actions. Artolution is a global non-profit organization that seeks to strengthen communities experiencing crisis through collaborative art making. Their intervention in the Rohingya camps was also substantial. Artolution has been responsible for more than 400 projects in 30 countries globally since 2009. Individual artists from home and abroad also join in to raise a voice in support of the Rohingyas, besides producing art and photography on their life in camps. So here are some examples of collaborative projects. Conclusion. Migration is the only one truly universal international phenomenon of our time, wrote Boris Groys in an article titled New Universalism. He is not he's not a writer whose idea of universality undercuts the voices of the periphery. As an inclusionary thinker, Boris is clearly on the side of the majority world. He furthers his discourses on migration by underlining the core problem that today troubles the so-called globalized world. The anti-immigration politics of contemporary new right parties is an effect of what can be characterized as the territorialization of identity politics. That's Boris's explanation. Hassan Elahi, this is a work by Hassan Elahi, um, a Bangladeshi-born American artist, now famous for his work on surveillance, citizenship, and migration, began working on these themes after he had been mistakenly associated with terrorist activities. After a 6-month-long FBI investigation, Hassan Elahi began to voluntarily monitor himself by photographing mundane details from his daily life and sending these images, hundreds of them each week for over a dozen years, to the FBI, titled Thousand Little Brothers, which he launched in 2012, 14. Hassan decided that if the FBI knew everything about him, he would make their information irrelevant by putting his entire life on the internet for everyone to see. The artist continues to expand on his project alongside other projects. Art and his various interdisciplinary offshoots may have covered a huge ground over the past 50 or so years in order to address the issue of displacement and the associated human disasters. But it any desired effect on, may not have left any desired effect on real life, not at least in near future. The changing patterns of art might continue to draw people's attention to both their content and form, but this will not suffice to change the way the world leaders still continue to operate on the theaters of global and regional politics. And thank you very much. You've been patient throughout. Oh, I'm sorry. The thank you has turned. This is thank you.
Thank
I
you
don't know what
very
happened to happened to the slide.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zaman. I would now like to request Mr. Liaquat Ali Lucky, Director General of Bangladesh Shilpakala Academy, to grace our guests in the stage with the Bangladeshi traditional Auditorium. Thank you very much, everyone. It is now time to go for a short tea break. We will resume the seminar at 12:15 p.m. I would appreciate if all of us reassemble here at 12:15 sharp. Tea will be served at the art gallery on the same floor. Our volunteers are here to guide you there in case you have difficulty locating the place. Thank you.